Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Mexico City. In this one, we have Erik Sliva taking on Francis Marshall. I'm going to be honest right from the start, dude. I feel like this is Francis Marshall's fight to lose. Obviously, I'm not just going to say that and move on. I'm gonna break it down, obviously, and stylistically say why I believe this is not only just Francis Marshall's win, but his fight to lose. And what could there be a path for Erik Sliva if one, just a narrow one? Really quickly looking at our two fighters, starting with Marshall. He's currently 8-3 as a professional, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but don't let that fool you. He's very good. But young still for featherweight at 26, about to be 27 next month, but Francis Marshall is a good talent, right? Knocked out Marcio Rojo, then lost a close decision to William Gomez, lost to Isaac Delgarian before betting scandals, got a good got a good win over Dennis Bazooka, and then most recently lost to Myron Santos via split decision in a fight where I thought Francis Marshall got robbed, if I'm being honest. I thought he did a good job of dealing with the height and reach of Myron Santos, dealing with the striking, and overall did a good job of mixing in his wrestling and striking. Now, on the opposite side for Erik Sliva, he's currently 9-3 as a professional, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Now, of the UFC, he's 0-2. He got a win on the Contender Series about 3.5 years ago. Then from there, got submitted by TJ Brown almost 3 years ago, and then most recently lost to Mohamed Naimov via leg injury in a fight and that fight is almost 2 years old. So it's been quite a while since we've seen Erik Sliva in the UFC. And now he takes on a young, explosive, and powerful guy in Francis Marshall. Yeah, I think this is Marshall's fight to lose. But of course, like I said, I'll get into depth on why I think that and more in depth on Erik Silva's style. So without further ado, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Erik Sliva. I didn't say Silva's biggest weapon, especially at this stage of his career, is his grappling, yet does have good jiu-jitsu. He's comfortable on the mat, he understands positioning, and he can threaten with submissions if opponents get careless. When Silva is able to initiate grappling exchanges and settle onto top position or top control, he's still dangerous. He's not washed in terms of skill, and the technique is there, the experience is there. But the issue is he is 38, right? He will be 39 in about a month. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years, almost exactly 2 years. That's not a small detail. And at the lighter weight classes like featherweight 8, especially, timing and speed are everything. Layoffs at that age don't just affect cardio, they affect reaction time, they affect confidence in exchanges, they affect durability. And Silva has never been known for airtight striking defense, even in his prime. He could be hittable. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's going to be very hittable in this fight. And he relies heavily on physical explosiveness and grappling transitions. And at 39, coming off a long layoff, you have to question whether that explosiveness is even still there. And if it's not, that is not a good sign. Now, looking at Francis Marshall. Right, he's younger at 29, like I said. He's fresher and stylistically well equipped for this matchup. Marshall's wrestling is solid. He shoots explosively. He's comfortable controlling from top position. More importantly, he doesn't panic in grappling exchanges. If Silva tries to initiate wrestling, I think Marshall is capable of stuffing shots, reversing position, or at the very least, forcing scrambles that don't automatically favor Silva. And on the feet, Marshall has the advantage, right? He's a more active striker. He throws with more confidence. He carries speed and power that Silva, especially at this stage, just cannot match. And Marshall, his striking isn't rudimentary. It's actually very well polished, right? He doesn't overextend and he doesn't chase the finish. He's very good at staying composed. All Marshall really needs to do is just needs to fight smart. Stuff takedowns, if taken down, work back up quickly, and once the fight is standing, make Silva pay. Because Silva's striking defense has never been his strong suit, and age plus inactivity rarely improves that. Now, just looking at the stylistic clash, the fight really just comes down to one big question. Can Erik Sliva consistently control grappling exchanges against a younger, physically strong opponent who also wrestles well? If the answer is yes, then Silva does have a path to victory. But that's a big if, dude. Marshall, he has good top pressure in his own right. He's explosive on entries, and he's been shown that he can maintain composure when fights hit the mat. That's a problem for Silva because Silva's best path likely involves getting Marshall grounded and threatening with submissions. If Marshall can either stop the takedowns altogether or immediately work back to his feet and fight, and the fight restarts to striking, that heavily favors him. And another key detail: pace. Silva at this age is not likely to push a high pace for 3 rounds. Marshall can. If Marshall keeps the output steady and forces Silva to react rather than initiate, that drains energy very, very quickly, especially coming off a long layoff. I cannot stress enough how big of an intangible that is, plus his age. Plus, meanwhile, you look at Francis Marshall, who is in his athletic prime. He's active, he's improving, and this is exactly the kind of fight where he should look like the fresher athlete. This isn't, I'm not trying to disrespect Silva's skill set. I'm just simply pointing out the facts, and the intangibles is, he's nearly 2 years out of competition and almost 39. It's not ideal circumstances whatsoever to come back in. And it's just the reality of it. So kind of, I guess you could say a final assessment, if you will. Silva has grappling ability. If Marshall gets reckless, dives headfirst into a gilly or something like that, or leaves his neck exposed, then Silva can capitalize. I do believe that. But the safer and more probable path is this, right? Marshall, he fights well in discipline. He defends any of Erik Silva's takedowns. He uses his wrestling to neutralize grappling threats, and he wins the striking exchanges. When you line it up stylistically, physically, and just in context, this is Marshall's fight to lose. Plain and simple. So, for my official pick, obviously, I'm picking Francis Marshall. I guess the question really becomes is, how does he win by? I'm probably leaning towards TKO. Silva hasn't really shown a good chin in the past. I don't know how much that leg injury has affected him for the last 2 years, but I can definitely say that I am confident Francis Marshall is going to get the finish here. So, once again, for my official prediction, I'm going to pick Francis Marshall to win this fight, and I'm picking him via TKO. Most likely ground and pound is what I'm leaning towards. But with that being said, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. Until then, I have been Bo for Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening, and remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.